Okay, this video is going to be showing us how to change the filament in our Lulzbot Mini 2 3D printers. Currently we have this orange color, they call it translucent red, and so that is currently loaded in our 3D printer, and so I'm going to show you how to remove that and how to install another color. The other color we're going to be installing here is our clear color. Actually, what do they call that? They actually call this, natural. So we're going to be installing some natural in there. Really the only tool that we're going to need is a pair of long nose pliers, which is in our little kit here. So we'll be using that in just a moment. So I'm going to start off, and whenever you go to change your print material, it's a good idea to go to temperature, and when I click on temperature, I'm going to now take the nozzle. I'm going to really heat this up, heat it up to about 240 or so. And the reason why I'm doing that is similar to when you start up the 3D printer. You want to get that plastic that's inside the print head nice and liquidy. Once you get that nice and liquidy, then what's going to happen is it's going to be able to or it's going to be much easier to remove it from the print head when it is nice and hot. As that heats up, I want to show you just briefly where we keep our 3D print material. If we step back from our 3D printers and we go and we look down towards the floor here, there we go, we can see that we have some 3D print material in these drawers down here. This one says Polylite PLA. We open that up. You can see there's a couple different types. We also have a little bit of glue if we need to help the adhesion on the build plate. We got another drawer of Polylite PLA. This is all the rigid print material. And then over here we have a drawer that says Ninja Flex on it. So in Ninja Flex, we open that up, and this is all the really flexible stuff like what we use for cell phones and such, or cell phone cases. And so the temperature has gotten up there. It is currently at 240, and we're going to go and we're going to remove that filament that's in there. So a couple things about doing that. First off, what we have is down here we have this little wheel. It looks like a gear right there. It is a gear. And then we also have this little area that the filament feeds into, and I can pinch that and that will flex just a little bit. It actually is pretty tight right now. I'm going to come over here to our screen. I'm going to press the button, and I'm going to go down to change filament. And when I do that, what happens is it moves the print head over, and you'll see that wheel actually turn. It's pulling that filament down into it, and then it's going to retract it rather quickly. And as it retracts it, I'm going to be pulling up on that filament. You might be able to see my fingers moving up because I'm pulling that back out. And then once I pull that back out, boink, you can see it comes out with a melted end there on our filament. I'm going to be really careful not to tangle up this plastic here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to be cutting that with the pliers. So I'm going to take the pliers, I'm going to hold that, and I want a nice clean cut on the end. Use the wire cutting portion of the pliers. And then I'm going to take it, and you have some holes here and you have some holes around the perimeter. Just somewhere you need to tuck that in, because if you don't, with this material especially, what it'll do is it'll unwind in here, and then it gets all tangled and basically ties itself in a knot when you want to print your next thing, and then your print's going to fail. So we take this and we make sure that we put it away in the drawer down at the bottom according to whatever kind of material it is. Now I'm going to actually load in the next material, and I can put it onto the rack, You can see that we have a nice clean cut from before. And I'm going to take that print material and pull that back through the hole. Don't let go of it because it might go all over the place if I do that and then develop one of those knots. And then here we are at the print head. And so here for the print head, I'm going to see if I could actually, can I arrange this on here? That's pretty sketchy. I might be dropping my camera if I try too hard to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually feed it into that little hole there. And it can go down a little bit, but what I need to do is I need to pinch this roller. See how I can pinch that? I need to pinch that and shove that filament down in there real quick. So I'm going to actually see if I can do that with you looking at it maybe from below. I don't know if I can. This is an interesting view. You may or may not be able to see that. I hope you can. So I'm going to pinch right here. When I pinch, I'm going to shove that print media down into that base. And it didn't really seem to go too far, but now my screen says insert filament and press the button. So when I press the button, I'm going to also be pushing here to try to help that go in. I might even squeeze there, and I can actually feel, I'll squeeze it with my fingers. Maybe you can see my fingers very slowly moving down, but that will allow me to tell whether or not it's actually drawing it in there. And I'm going to continue to push to make sure that it goes in there as best as it can. All right, now I'm going to take you out of there. This is still drawing in some filament, and I just want to make sure, just feel that it's still pulling that in there. If it wasn't, I need to, squeeze that a little feeder head on there and make sure that I push that filament down in there until it really starts grabbing it. Sometimes, especially with some print media, it seems just a little bit tough to do that. Some of the things that really help is having that at that 240 or so degrees. Having a nice hot temperature on there really helps. If you look over here, you can see there's some filament coming out now. Obviously, oh look, it's even getting a little less red, a little more of that white or natural color as they call it. And then we can look over here on our little screen and we can see that my choices are in filament change or purge more. Well, since I already saw that I have some of this filament coming out, I'm going to choose in filament change. If I need to purge more, well, then I can purge more through there, and I would choose purge more if I wasn't seeing plastic coming out of it just yet. I want to make sure that it did feed correctly, and by plastic coming out of it, that would tell me that I fed it correctly in there and that I got it all the way in. So I'm going to select in filament change, and we're done. That's it. So now you know how to change the filament on a Lulzbot 3D printer.